If you're a working parent, I get it. The idea of planning some big family vacation can feel, well, completely exhausting. But what if I told you that from a child psychologist's point of view, the most powerful brain building adventures for your child aren't the big, expensive ones? Nope, they're the small, intentional trips you can take any weekend. So let's get into how this works.
This quote really gets to the heart of it all. We tend to think of travel as a reward or just a break, but for a developing mind, it's actually fundamental. It's not about collecting stamps in a passport. It's about giving their brain the raw materials it needs to grow into something curious, adaptable, and resilient. So, right away, let's just reframe how we think about this. The developmental magic isn't in how far you go or how much you spend. It's all about the quality of the exposure, the interactions you have, and importantly, the conversations you have afterward. A trip to a different neighborhood can honestly be more impactful than a week at some fancy resort, as long as it's done with intention. Okay, so let's look at what's actually happening inside your child's brain when you step outside your familiar bubble. There's some really fascinating science at play here that goes way, way beyond just making memories. The key concept we need to talk about is cognitive flexibility. The best way to think about it is like a travel map. Imagine your child's understanding of the world is a tiny, simple map, right? It just shows their home, their school, and the local park. Well, every new experience adds new roads and landmarks to that map. Cognitive flexibility is the skill of being able to redraw that map on the fly when they see something new, instead of just getting stuck and confused. It's basically the brain's adaptability muscle. And this is where you really see the payoff. You can try to explain what a community is from a book, or you can take them to a farmer's market in a different town and let them actually feel it. When they experience this real-world variety, these abstract ideas just click into place. All of a sudden, concepts like culture or an ecosystem aren't just words on a page, they're living, breathing things.
So you can see these experiences fuel growth in three main areas. You've got the cognitive boost we just talked about, but just as important, you see this huge emotional growth and this deep sense of confidence and resilience start to build. Let's dig into that emotional piece for a second. Think about it for a minute. Getting just a little bit lost, trying to order food from a menu they've never seen, figuring out a new bus system. These little moments of mild, manageable uncertainty, they are developmental gold. When a child navigates these small challenges with you, their safe person, it does two incredible things. It teaches them to manage their own anxiety, and it deeply strengthens their secure attachment to you. They're learning, okay, the world is new and a little weird, but with my parent here, I can totally handle it. Now, over time, these small adventures create very real, very observable shifts in a child's perspective. It's not just about one trip. It's the cumulative effect that actually transforms how they see the world and their place in it. Let's look at what that transformation really looks like. First, you'll see a move from rigid thinking to much more adaptable thinking. The child who used to get really anxious if their dinner routine changed, they start to become more open and genuinely curious about new things. They've had practice with change and they've learned it can actually be exciting, not just scary. Next, you get this powerful shift away from an egocentric, my way is the only way kind of perspective. You know what I'm talking about. When they see that other people live differently, eat differently, and speak differently, and that those ways are just as valid and interesting, it builds this incredible foundation for real empathy and cuts down on judgment. And finally, you see a child move from being totally comfort dependent to being truly resilient. Handling minor travel hiccups, like a delayed train or a rainy day, teaches them to tolerate inconvenience. But more importantly, it teaches them to start problem solving for themselves. They learn how to pivot instead of panic. Okay, so you're on board with the why, but what about the how? I know you're busy, so let's get into the practical toolkit for working families. These are simple, low-stress strategies you can literally start using this weekend. First off, forget international flights. Think micro-travel. This could be as simple as taking the bus to a neighborhood on the other side of your city, or visiting a cultural center or museum you've always driven past but never gone into, or just taking a short drive to a nearby park or nature reserve. These things deliver the exact same developmental benefits, I promise. And here is a super crucial tip. Give your child a job, even a small one. Let them choose which museum to go to. Have them pack their own snack bag. Give them $5 and make them responsible for their souvenir budget. These aren't chores, they're exercises for their developing brain.
See, when kids have a role in the planning, it builds their executive function skills. That's the brain's CEO that's responsible for planning and organizing. This involvement gives them a really powerful sense of ownership and competence. It totally transforms the experience into their adventure, not just something they're being dragged along to.
Now, listen up because this might be the most important step of all. The learning does not stop when you get home. Reflection is what cements an experience into a lasting insight. So on the car ride home or over dinner, just ask simple, open-ended questions like, what surprised you the most today? Or what was different there compared to our neighborhood? Or even, what part felt a little tricky or new? These questions get them to really process what they saw and felt. And you can totally keep that spirit of discovery alive even when you're not traveling. Try to weave these experiences into your daily routines. So you watched a documentary about Japan? Awesome! Try making some simple sushi rolls together. Read a bedtime story set in Mexico? Pull up a map online and find it. These small acts keep their world feeling big and exciting.
So let's bring this all together. The big takeaway here is that you do not need a huge budget or a ton of time off to give your child these incredible developmental gifts. It's the small, consistent, and intentional efforts that truly, truly count. Feeling pressured? Please don't be. Research suggests that just 2 to 4 meaningful trips a year, and yes, that absolutely includes day trips, is enough to provide all of these rich benefits. That feels pretty manageable, right? It's all about consistency, not extravagance.
So if you remember just one thing from all of this, let it be this simple formula. It's not about the destination. It's about intentional exposure to new things, a shared experience that strengthens your family bond, and thoughtful reflection to turn it all into lasting growth. That's the whole recipe. Which brings us to the final and most important question. Remember, it doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be new. So what small adventure will you and your family plan for this weekend?